All right, welcome back to another episode of the Believe in Minnesota Football podcast, hosted by the former kicker for your Golden Gophers, Matthew Trickett, and me, Tony Liebert. For today's episode, we'll recap the Gophers offseason as they kind of now head into winter workouts and the spring season. And we'll talk about what Matt's been up to and what I guess the future holds for him post college playing career. But I will start with the Gophers, I guess. When you look at their offseason so far, they made some noise in the transfer portal, bringing in six new players and four new position coaches as well. So, like any year, I guess in college sports, there was a lot of turnover with the entire roster and coaching staff. And I guess from your perspective as a player, obviously you transferred midway through your career and had uh 2 years with the Gophers to end it. But when there's all those new guys coming in each offseason, how long does it take to get used to them and get them ingrained into the culture that your team has already built?
Yeah. I would say spring semester, the guys that arrived a few weeks ago in early January, that's the best time to arrive as a transfer. Even those early enrollees out of high school, that's the best time to arrive because you really quickly get into the swing of things. Training with the strength staff, going to class, eating your meals at the dining hall, all those sorts of things are you're just going to be around the team. You're going to be around the culture, around the coaches. The strength staff is, the extended arm that is the coaching staff, and you're with them majority of the time, anyways. So that just gets you around the guys a lot. Transferring in the summer or arriving in the summer as a high school student, just transferring in is a bit more difficult because your schedule is a bit more relaxed. You may have training for only those 4 hours of the day, and then you're kind of off on your own. You can choose to hang out with the team. You can choose to go home. You can kind of make your own schedule in the summer, whereas in the springtime, it's, hard hitting. You're going to be in the classroom a lot. You're going to be in study hall. You're going to be around the facility a lot more. So, I mean, after probably 2 weeks in the spring, I would say you're kind of getting into the swing of things, have a good routine down. Whereas in the summer, it take 3 weeks to a month to really get into those habits of getting with the guys and kind of knowing your process and how you're going to go about doing that.
Yeah, when people, I guess, talk about like winter workouts before you get into like spring practice and stuff like that, obviously it's a little different for us, you when you were a specialist, but I guess what exactly does that like entail? And is it like the whole team is just working out in the gym? And because it's a term that obviously gets thrown around and not everyone knows exactly what it is. So when you were, I guess, playing, how did that look for you?
Yeah. So, like you mentioned, specialist is a bit different. We don't focus as much on endurance or running as much. It's a lot less of that for us. We'll on the bikes a lot more to save our legs so we can still get our couple days in of training kicking wise. Whereas the other guys, it's a lot more running. It's building up that stamina in the weight room. It's really bulking season. So it's a lot of heavy weights. You're going to be maxing out, your hang clean, your bench, and your squats during that time. So winter workouts is really dedicated to building your body up from being torn apart all season. So you got to build your body back up so that you can get through those 15 spring ball practices. And then once you're through those, kind of the same process begins in the summer where you got to start small and then build back up. So then by the time fall camp rolls around, your body is able to endure practicing every single day, hitting every single day. So right now I would say is a time for a lot of growth in the team, physically, mentally, getting connected. So it's a really important time for guys to be committed to the process and being together.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you obviously start playing football at the Division 1 level, that's when winter team building and off-season team building ramps up a ton compared to high school. And I would only imagine that it's something that a outsider or fan wouldn't realize how important it is for a team. And like I would assume coaches obviously say the cliche that championships are kind of built in the off season. And I would assume times like this, when you have all those changing parts, do play a big role once you get to the spring and the fall.
Without a doubt. And something that is overlooked a lot because it's not technically required, because you're only allowed so many hours of the day to be required in the facility. So one big thing that I think is huge is different guys in their position groups being leaders and stepping up and going into the indoor when nobody's in there and getting a few extra reps of something that they need to work on. I know the specialists go in there all the time and they're, working out the little kinks and things that they need to do to improve. So while it is primarily lifting and running, there's also off time or, your downtime that not should be, but if you want to win those championships, they should be spent improving your on-field performance as well.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess looking into the specific moves that the Gophers made, a lot of it I think took place on offense with the change at offensive coordinator. Matt Simon and Greg Harbaugh are now going to be co-offensive coordinators. And with Athan Kaliakmanis now expected to be the starter next year at quarterback. He's got a lot of new weapons, two new transfer wide receivers with Elijah Spencer from Charlotte and Corey Crooms from Western Michigan. And most recently, I think one of the bigger additions from the transfer portal, the Gophers flipped Western Michigan transfer Sean Tyler, running back who was originally committed to Oklahoma State, now going to come to the Gophers. And I guess now that you are transitioning into being a fan of the team, I guess what do you think the ceiling is for this offense next year with Athan at the helm, all these new weapons, and then you still have players like Crab and Brevin Spanford and Daniel Jackson all coming back?
Yeah, so I mean, you mentioned it. There's a ton of weapons on the offensive side, and even with the new offensive coordinating guys, I guess they've been there, but um, they're just being in new positions now. So it will be different for sure, and I think it's an offense that can be extremely explosive, and that is something that I really want to see and look forward to seeing with all these guys returning with Crab, Brevin, but then also adding in the new guys. I'd love to see an explosive offense. It's always been a nice, steady, control the pace of the game type offense. So seeing a few pickups here and there on offense and guys that can add that extra element, I think might be the deciding factor in the Big Ten West.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting and kind of obviously a new era of Gophers football under Coach Fleck without Mo and without Tanner. And now really different personnel on the offensive side of the ball. And it's still an experienced offensive line, but not the strength as much as it's been in the years past. So with a new play caller, it'll definitely be interesting to see how that goes. And Matt Simon is probably one of the biggest moves of the offseason, obviously. And he seems like he's always been a very well-respected guy in the locker room. I've only heard great things about him. And I guess from your point of view, obviously playing on the team last year and the past 2 years, how do you think the team is going to handle Coach Simon now being, I guess, promoted to co-offense coordinator, even though he technically already was? And how is he kind of viewed amongst the players in the locker room?
Yeah, I mean, in my experience, he's been nothing but great to me. And um, in our little corner as specialists, we're always right next to the wide receivers before practice starts. So we get to see a little bit of how he treats them and how he handles his wide receivers. And I mean, I can say personally, he pushes them really hard and he is very demanding of them, but in a great way. But, when there are mistakes that happen, he's there and he's telling them, okay, but why should you have done it this way instead of this way? So um, I think it's great. I think it could highlight our receivers and our outside weapons a bit more. I know I'd like to see that, but I'm really excited for him, and it'll be good to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I think any fan of the Gophers is going to have a lot of anticipation to see how the offense looks. Game one, Big Ten game against Nebraska, August 31st, will be very interesting with new starting day one quarterback, new play caller, all these new weapons. It'll be very interesting. And definitely one of the more intriguing years in a while for not necessarily the potential that the team has, but the unknown and the fact that we haven't seen all these players play together. When in the past few years it's been a lot of the familiar names. I think it's setting up to definitely be a very, very interesting Gophers football season in 2023.
Yeah, that's for sure. And a lot of that is built right now, as we said earlier. So, you never want to look too far ahead, but I expect the guys to be working extremely hard right now to build that familiarity with each other because, you had that with Tanner, with John Michael, with Mo, uh, all those guys that have been there and done it year in and year out. So just to build that trust and familiarity with how each other plays the game and how you can push one another. Uh, that should be going on right now, and I think that'll say a lot when the season approaches.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say overall it's really been a really solid offseason. I think the Gophers have fit positions of need with wide receiver, a group that did have its ups and down last year. They got dynamic running back to help begin to place or replace Mo Ibrahim, and they obviously replaced all their coaching vacancies with, I think, very qualified candidates really at all spots that they replaced. And I mean, I think these are the moves that obviously set up for success and long-term success. And I think the boat is pointed in the right direction. And I guess now shifting to kind of what you're up to, some of your teammates are playing in some postseason all-star games right now with Mo, Tanner, Jordan Howden, Terrell Smith, all in the Shrine Bowl. And I believe as recording this on Wednesday or Thursday, I think the Shrine Bowl is tonight in Las Vegas, the game. And then
Yep.
the Senior Bowl also going on this week with John Michael in Mobile. And I believe that game is this weekend. But I guess we mentioned on the last episode that you are hoping to pursue a career in professional football. So I guess what are you up to right now and kind of your plans for going forward?
Yeah. So right now, just training with a group of other specialists and lifting 3 days a week, kicking 3 days a week, staying busy, really. Um, and then really continuing that through really the beginning of March. And then I believe our pro day is March 15th. So it's one of the earlier pro days, actually. So then once that comes around, I believe I'll be flying back to Minnesota, hopefully spending around a week there just so I can get comfortable again, practice a few times in the indoor, lift again in the weight room, and then when pro day comes around, see all the guys again, and hopefully have a great showing for everybody.
Yeah. Are you back home in Ohio right now, or where are you at right now?
Yeah, right now I'm up in Buffalo, New York. Um, so not too far away from home. And then we have a specialist combine out in Arizona with Coach Gary Zahner. He's well-renowned special teams coordinator, and his word carries a lot of weight in the NFL community. So a good showing there can go a very long way. And then after that, I think we have 2 more weeks down in Florida, kicking outside and continuing that training down there. And then around early March, hopefully get home and then get packed up and head back to Minnesota.
Yeah. So are you working out with like a bunch of other specialists in your position preparing for the NFL draft, or is it more current college guys mixed with NFL guys, or kind of who all are you working out with?
Yeah, so it's all our guys that have exhausted eligibility and training for the NFL draft.
Very cool. I would imagine it's a very interesting time. Obviously, finishing up school and your whole life, you've pretty much been going to class at this point. Now you're preparing for a dream that you've had for a long time. So I'd imagine it's a very uh, exciting time, but also a little stressful because you really don't know what the future holds. And as someone myself that's preparing for life after college, it's a very stressful thing, and it'll be interesting to follow your career and to follow the rest of the Gophers' career, because that's the fun thing about college sports is just you root for these guys for 4 years, and then you get to see where they end up.
Yeah, it definitely is a time uh, of uncertainty. You got guys training, and then like the 4 guys you mentioned in the Shrine Bowl later tonight. Then they got to fly out to Vegas for a week and train there, and then they fly back to wherever they're training. And all you're really thinking about is what you can do better training wise, where you're going to be sleeping that night, what you're going to be eating. It's just figuring all that out, because it seems like not a lot of this can be scratched in for long term. A lot of it's short term stay here, short term stay there, and bouncing around figuring it all out. So yeah, we're kind of all in it together here, and where I am in Buffalo, all the specialists. So we're all figuring it out together, and across the nation, you got Gophers going pro, figuring it out. So it's a fun time, but like you said, filled with tons of uncertainty, and we're all just doing our best trying to navigate the waters.
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine even as a kicker, it's tougher because obviously there's only uh, a few, if not no, kickers that get drafted in the NFL draft. So it's a lot of undrafted opportunities and getting on people's lists and stuff like that. Because I remember talking to Peter Mortel last year. I think I interviewed him, and he was former punter with the Gophers, and he was talking about how after he graduated, he was obviously doing the same stuff that you are, and it's all about uh it's like a real job. You just put your name out there, and it's all about networking and making sure the right people know who you are and you know who they are, and it's all about taking advantage of the opportunities that you do get. And I would imagine that's stressful because you don't know when or where those are going to happen. You just have to be ready.
100%. And especially as a kicker, punter, snapper, I think a lot of it is dictated upon where you land, because you can have guys that are drafted that may not land in the best spot for them. And then you see them failing on Sundays or not even making it to the Sunday games. And then you have guys that are free agents that may not have been, either considered the best in their class or whatever it may be, but they land in a spot that they can compete for, they can contend for, and then you see them playing on Sundays. So, you know, it is tricky. We're all trying to figure out what is right for us and what is right for all the teams that are looking. So hopefully we got a lot of Gophers drafted this year and show well during pro day and continue the success of the program.
Yeah. I mean, it is a very fun time, I think, for football fans. I always love the draft and seeing where all these guys you did watch for 4 years, even at other schools than Minnesota, as a college football fan, are always fun to follow. And I guess anyone listening to this and me, best of luck for you wherever you end up and wherever you go. And best of luck to the rest of the Gophers, because it is a stressful time, and they all clearly deserve an opportunity to chase their dream. And yeah,
I appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, I know I'll be talking to all the former Gophers now that are out there still training. I think it's most of us. So, you know, I'll be talking to them, wishing them the best of luck. I know I talked to Tanner earlier this week when he got to the Shrine Bowl. So I think we all stay in contact and we're all, you know, in it together, and it's fun. You know, it's the path that we all chose, and I think everyone's enjoying living out their dreams.
Yeah, I mean, you even see it with John Michael. He's getting a lot of hype during the Senior Bowl. A lot of great things people are saying about him. Even Tanner and Mo, a lot of positive words about them at the Shrine Bowl. Terrell Smith, I saw a lot of good stuff about him. So it's great to see former Gophers succeeding in these games, and it'll be fun to watch where they end up.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, I guess if you don't have anything else to say, we'll wrap up this week's episode there. It is a fun Gophers football season upcoming. Fun draft season, always fun time of the year. There might not be games to talk about, but there's plenty of football to talk about still. And as always, I appreciate everyone listening. Row the boat, Sky Umont, and go Gophers.